Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It is your Capes Crusader, Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our brand new friend, Charlie McElvy of Spider-Squirrel and Milestone. Very excited to break down these two awesome books. I had the opportunity to read both of them. Thank you so much for providing me those PDFs, Charlie. This was mind-blowing to read. Holy crap, I cannot wait to start breaking into it. But first and foremost, let's start breaking into who you are.
Hey, so Charlie McElvy. I'm a soon-to-be 47-year-old father of 7, husband to 1, been married forever. Fantastic. Those are always the important things for me because, comics is great, but they're fleeting. Life is the important thing. So, but anyway, so creator of Spider-Squirrel. In fact, I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit. I am Spider-Squirrel. I brought my Anson Mount hair today. I hope everybody doesn't mind that. I guess that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So, holy crap, man, 7 kids. How'd you find time to even write comics? Like, how did you start breaking into the indie comic scene?
Well, good question. So it actually started a little over a decade ago. I wanted to write a comic, and I wanted to do like my version of X-Men, Avengers-ish kind of thing, and I wanted to put a team book together. And so I actually started creating the Watch Guard. Fast forward a little bit, I'm getting through the book. I'm friends with Andy Smith, so Andy's like doing the art for me, and we're kind of moving through. And I met a few other creators. Elmer Santos did the colors. Steve Dutro is a classic. A guy did the letters. But I'm sitting here as I'm producing this book, and the first thought that went through my head is, who the hell's going to read this? And the answer was, I don't know. So I slowed down production of the comic a little bit. I got into the mindset of how do I market? How do I create a market? And actually what I ended up doing is taking the existing market and put my characters into that, which is gaming. And so I came across Mutants and Masterminds. If anybody's out there a role-playing gamer, you probably heard of M&M. It's a D20 based OpenGL gaming system and produced by Green Ronin. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I've actually done podcasts where we played for a little bit. It's really neat. But what I did was I actually created my characters and distributed them independently as like, hey, buy this character for 99 cents. It's a digital download. You can put them as an NPC or play as them if you want to. And I built up a market. And coincidentally, I didn't start this. I wanted to do comics. I didn't start this to be a gaming guy. And I ended up getting I won an award and got nominated for like the Emmys, of the Grammys or whatever of gaming. It's an Ennie. I got nominated for an Ennie award, which is
so you incredible. Were just you were creating characters and selling them for 99 cents.
Yeah, it's on. They're still on drive-through.
That is RPG so awesome. Right, and it would help you develop and flesh out the backstories too, right?
That's what that's what
genius.
The real
that is
purpose
genius.
was. Yeah, thank you. That was basically their Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Right, with gaming stats. So they're each 2 pages. It's the character with beautiful art, gaming stats, and bio, and boom, there you go, and you can rock and roll.
And the art serves as a character model too. That is so genius. I love it so much. I am a big fan of things because there's so much on my plate. So anything I could do that like is able to be done like that. Like for instance, like when I do my podcast, I like to take when I cover comics, I'll put comic animations to them and then upload those to TikTok. You know what I mean? Like just keep recycling that. And the way you went about this, and not only were you able to flesh out like a world and character backstories and models, but you were able to actually like sell them too. That is just like perfect, dude. Holy crap.
Yeah, it was a heck of a lot of fun. And a lot of characters made it in there. It's crazy because I have people who will message me randomly on social media and go, hey, when am I going to see Jupiter? Or when am I going to see this character or that character? Because they've read the source book, which is on Amazon now. And a lot of people are buying it. Comics people are buying it not for the gaming stuff, but because my characters, there's 40 plus characters in there that they can read bios on and learn about, and some just gorgeous. I even have a Google Map style city map of my fake city. So it's actually really stinking cool. But anyway, that's what got me started. Is I've been a comics guy all my life, comics, sci-fi, fantasy, the whole shebang. But I finally needed to get these stories out of me, and the Watch Guard was the first one. So definitely the worst one too, by the way, but go ahead.
I was just saying, how did we see you transition into Spider-Squirrel though? And that is such a unique name too. Can we get a little bit of a history on what inspired you to go with that name?
So you and I were talking backstage. I'll share the shorter version of the story. I started doing obstacle course racing back in 2013. And at the time, races kind of started around April and ended around October. So you had that entire October to really the winter break where there were no active races, and so I needed to find some place to keep my skills up to get ready for the next season, and I didn't know how to do that. Now I started just putzing around, and I found a parkour gym nearby, within like 4 miles of me, and so I went and checked the place out, fell in love there, started practicing parkour. I'm doing all these cool tricks, some cool neat, so we did some tricking, some parkour, obstacle courses, obviously, and then they ran a ninja competition, and I won. I just jumped in for the heck of it because there was nothing else to do, and I actually took first place, and I was like, holy crap, I'm kind of good at this. So I fast forward a few years, after actually about 2 years of training and getting better skills and stuff like that, I submitted to American Ninja Warrior, and they said, you're in. So I ended up on season 10 of American Ninja Warrior in Miami, which was a whole lot of fun. My entire family went down. We had a blast. We actually carpooled. Like, I took all 6 of my 7 kids. My oldest daughter was in Guatemala, and we went down there in Miami, and we had a vacation and got to do Ninja Warrior, and they get to be behind the scenes, and they got on camera. It's great. So where Spider-Squirrel came from, though, is they wanted some additional video, and so I had to go and do what they call B-roll stuff. And I had to shoot some B-roll stuff, and they wanted me in my home gym just in case I get aired on the show. So I'm choreographing these moves, and I'm trying to do some cool stuff just to look neat. And these 2 kids who are supposed to be training also, both of them are named Alex, incidentally. They Alex B was like, hey, he looks like a squirrel, like he's bouncing around, he's jumping all over the place, he's just not as annoying, which isn't true. And the other Alex C he goes, no, he looks like a spider. He's got these long arms. I'm 6'3". He's got these long arms and long legs. Look, he's even climbing right now.
That would be pretty impressive to see someone 6'3" like doing that. Like, that is a pretty big frame to be jumping around like that.
So that's what was going on. And they spent probably 5 to 7 minutes arguing, and I thought it was going to die down. I was like, guys, stop. I'll be the Spider-Squirrel, and it ding. And so I went home and I created the title logo, and I printed it on my training pants. I printed it on a couple tank tops, and that became my motif, my character. And then somewhere along the way, I thought, this could be a really fun comic book character. What would he look like? And so I started doodling and sketching designs, and then I said, stupid, looks like you. And so I reached out to Ray Anthony Height. If you guys know Ray, phenomenal guy, worked for DC Marvel. He's got his own Studio Sky Tiger coming out later this year. Follow him on Twitter if you aren't already. Ray's a phenomenal human being and a terrific artist. Ray helped me design what became the Spider-Squirrel costume, and I finished up with the little integrated squirrel tail on spider web, also shaped like an S. Which, thank you, Vito, for. Long story there, but Vito had me twisted. I had it going left to right, and he goes, dude, just turn it 90 degrees, and it became an S. And I go, oh, stupid.
Dude, and that's so genius. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, it was right there the entire time.
I know. That's why Vito and I stay friends, because he's a genius and I'm stupid, and it works really well.
So, real quick, let's pause on the comics, because I'm interested about this. What type of pressure is that, going on stage in front of like thousands of people in national television? I mean, doing this stuff in a gym in front of the boys is totally different, and compared to doing it in front of thousands of people. Like, what did that feel like? How did you even like push through that? That had to have just been overwhelming.
It's really hard to describe. That I have never been less nervous in my entire life. We were backstage. I was hanging out with these big name ninjas. Jesse Graff is there, and Natalie Durant. All these big ninjas are there, and I was hanging out with Morgan Wright. They call him the Moose. Morgan, he wears a moose hat if you ever watch the show. And Morgan and I were just trying to like, all right, here's how we're going to gauge our steps. We're kind of like planning things out backstage. So we were totally distracted the whole time by the idea of how we're going to get past this obstacle and what's our plan here. And then we're watching people, fall, and we're like, oh shoot, don't do that. Okay, noted, And it was interesting. So I ran 33rd in the run order out of 109 competitors. Incidentally, I came in 33rd overall out of 109, which I was 3 shy of making it to the next night. But yeah, I just got up on stage and I did Ray Lewis's Squirrel Dance, which I'm sure it was about as white and terrible looking as I expected. But if you guys know Ray Lewis went to the University of Miami. We were in Miami. I'm Spider-Squirrel. He does the squirrel dance, and my daughter is a huge Ravens fan, and so I did his that was my opening dance, and so I think I was more nervous doing that than actually running the freaking course. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, that is funny. And for anyone out there saying that's nuts, that's the point. He's a squirrel. Let's do it. Let's go. It helps with the branding. So, Spider-Squirrel, what type of superhero is he? What type of powers does he have? You know, what type of story are we going to see within this?
Well, you know, you can go online right now and buy his bio and read all about it.
Is he included in that?
Yeah, he is. He's not in the paperback version. He's in the but he's got his own digital entry.
That's so cool, though.
Joking aside, Spider-Squirrel is, he's a street level hero, and a little pastiche, right? So, Spider-Man, a little bit of Spider-Man, a little bit of Invincible, a little bit of Deadpool, a little bit of some of the things that I find fun in comics, but also, surprisingly, a lot me. I'm about as wild and random as he comes off. And Trash Panda, who's his best friend, he's my stabilizer, even though he's kind of a nutcase too. So it's kind of a fun buddy cop thing going on there. His powers, Spider-Squirrel's powers, he's a street level hero. Again, some of the guys already mentioned. His powers are, he's got, the crazy agility, crazy jumping, a little bit of enhanced strength. He actually has a spider bite, which I rarely use. In fact, it's funny. The first person to ever write it in a story wasn't me. Scott Fogg wrote one of the stories, one of the dimension breaks in the first issue, and he actually used Spider-Squirrel's spider bite. It's just an energy, kind of a stun, and he has the ability to glide, so like a gliding spider. He can't fly, but he can jump really far and then kind of catch a drift and float for a little bit. So he's got these gliding powers. I did give him wall crawling to an extent, but more like just wall sticking, because it was too obvious. I kind of thought it should be there, but I also pared it down. So he's not like Spider-Man. He's not going to climb up a glass wall or a brick wall. He might stick to one temporarily, but even that'll be, limited. So I kind of hamstring the guy. I wanted him to be a learning hero, like a hero that isn't, I hate the term Mary Sue, but I'll use it because I can't think of another one right now. But I didn't want him to be a Mary Sue where he can just do every freaking thing. I wanted him to struggle with his own powers. I wanted him to grow in his powers. I wanted him to fail every once in a while, often comedically, hopefully. So there he is, kind of in a nutshell. I may have skipped something. He's got a little bit of a squirrel sense. If you guys ever watched a squirrel, the tails flick all the time. It's a sensory thing. So I do give him a squirrel sense instead of a spider sense. But it's
I love it though. I love it so much. It's hilarious.
It's not as robust as a spider sense. It's just there. He'll dodge things Neo style. So
does he store nuts for the winter?
Yeah, well, his maybe, but not anybody else's.
Oh man, I love it so much. So what was some of your inspiration for the other characters that we see? And this has such a really insane concept too, that I'd like to kind of dive into, if it's not too spoilery, the dimension break. I thought that was like a really cool concept.
Thanks. It was a lot of fun. I knew I wanted to do something like that with him, because one of the things I wanted to do with the squirrel theme is not be too obvious about everything. And so the one thing about him that happens in this first volume is, like a squirrel, he bounces, instead of tree to tree, he bounces from universe to universe. And originally, when I wrote this, it was going to be just a bunch of places that I created. And as I progressed through it, I thought, what would be really fun is to work with other indie comics creators who are like myself, who just want to get their characters out there, kind of throw their name out there, showcase what they can do. How do I do that? Oh, I know. We'll have him bounce through the indie comics multiverse, and I'll let these other creators write my character in their universe and use their preferred art team, so that not only do you get a little bit of a style change in the writing, hopefully not too disjointed. And I served as Spider-Squirrel's voice, kind of editing the dialogue for him specifically throughout. But I let them have their voice and their art team, so that it feels like he's somewhere different, even though the character remains consistent throughout the stream. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it was a great way, again, to get some guys and gals that I watch or follow, to write my character and to promote the book. Sure, but it's also neat because some people might not have ever heard Steel Wolf from Eric Bennett, for example.
Yeah.
So,
Or Hypergirl. Hypergirl was another cool one, right?
Yeah. Marcosia, yeah, from Ian Sharman and David Wynn. So those guys are great. Ian, I've worked with for a long time. He actually helped me when I put the the WatchGuard source book together. Ian was one of the inkers that I came across.
That's so cool.
Yep. So
yeah, no. So when I was reading it and I stumbled onto that, I was like, okay. I was like, this is a really interesting like fourth wall break. Like he's introducing like a completely different like creative team. I was like, but the art style looks so different. And then I like went over it again. I'm like, is this a completely different team on this? And then when I talked to you, I was like, holy crap, this is so cool. I love it. Just the fact that you let them kind of take control of the like just because each story is done in its own art style. So he in itself is done in a different style too. I really loved how it looked overall. What was it hard to coordinate that at all?
Don't ever do it. No, I joke. Look, if anybody's doing indie comics now, right? Whether you have a publisher like Scout or Mad Cave or anybody else, or if you're on your own completely, you know that part of your job as a creator is going to be to project manage. So if you haven't already figured that out, you better figure it out fast, right? So this was probably a larger project management job than most books, for sure, to your point. But once the art starts coming in, I read the scripts obviously, and then we get the art teams coming in, the art starts coming in, and I'm just like, this is why I did this, because I got some really cool scripts from some really cool, fun people, and oh my god, I see my character driven. What the heck am I talking about? Drawn by all these different, really good creators, and the styles, to your point, are so distinct. You got Mitch Ballard's really clean, kind of George Perez-esque classic style, and then you got David Wynn's very, kind of rough in the Hypergirl story, kind of this rough, cool, cartoony style, and everything in between, and it's a blast, man.
So I got to ask too, obviously this came out way before it, but how did you feel when you seen Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah, so actually, true story, I still haven't seen it. The only movie I've seen in the theaters since the inception of COVID and lockdowns and stuff has been, and again, you heard I have 7 kids, so we tend to go as a family, so we're a big group anyway. So it's always
you better
expensive.
have that Cinemark pass. It's like $10 a month, and it gives you like a free ticket here and there.
Yeah, I did. So, but no, with the streaming, within 45 days or so, it's still not so bad. We kind of watch as a family. We just haven't gotten around to watching this because our lives been crazy, and I can get to that later. But when I saw it was coming, I kind of rolled my eyes and go, damn it, everybody's going to think that this is why I did this. This story was written like 3 years ago. Yeah. So, and anybody who knows production knows that books take a long time to put things together. It's 6 months minimum just to get a book out anymore. So these things are planned way in advance. When I saw that, I thought somebody's going to accuse me, but I'm just going to deal with it. I don't care, because it's still fresh. To your point, right? It's like, it's different. It's not, you don't see a lot of this.
Yeah. No, I don't think this, like, that's why I try to word it like that, because I know, as someone who consumes this type of media, I know like what goes into this. So that's why I was curious, because to me, I would have been like, son of a gun, like, what are you doing, Marvel? I'm coming at you. Yeah. So back to Spider-Squirrel though, this is such an interesting thing to kind of put him through, because he's not super OP. Like another character that we're going to talk about, though. I'm very excited to talk about that one coming up after Spider-Squirrel. But to put him kind of with, I don't know exactly how to word this, like with this shortcoming where he can't really control that because it just happens sporadically. I mean, what influenced you to really put him through that?
I think just that, you kind of, I wanted him to have this, I wanted everyone from the onset, because you've already read at least 20 some odd pages of it. It's so basically the first issue, or half the first issue. He is, I don't introduce him. I mean, like, there's no origin story. You don't know how he got his powers. You guys don't understand, like, how did he and Trash Panda even become buddies? Why the heck are they sitting in a dorm room with crazy posters in the background and getting on superhero dating sites? It's because he's just, I just wanted to showcase the character. Like, I think to me, origin will come. We'll talk more about that as we go. You can kind of read it again online if you want to, but really it was about showcasing that he's just as vulnerable as the next guy, but how's he deal with it? And it's that, I hate saying laugh in the face of danger kind of thing. It is a little bit of that, though. That's something that I always grew up with, and I loved. I love characters who understand that things are grim. Truthfully, this is a reflection of me, and I'll give you. Let me stop and kind of back up a little bit. So, I work. I have a job. Imagine that, and I'm in IT, and my manager actually got hired the same day I did, which is kind of fun and funny. And we were talking in one of our first one-on-ones, and I said, "I promise you, this is going somewhere." And he said, "Tell me something about yourself that I might not know right off the bat." And I said, "Well, you'll probably figure it out quick. I laugh at everything. I act like I take nothing seriously. I joke. I'll, except for the really morbid stuff or really like gross things, I won't joke about those things. But I try to laugh about everything. The difference, though, is while I act like I don't take anything seriously, I take everything very seriously. And so that's a reflection of the character in some ways, is that you'll never really get a sense that Spider-Squirrel understands the impending danger or doom that's around him.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to laugh. He's going to fourth wall break. He's going to make a stupid joke about it. But in his heart, you'll start to see this over time. In his heart, he is taking every moment seriously because he knows the value of life. He understands that things are fleeting, and that we all could go away in a blink tomorrow. So why live morbidly? Let's just live a full, rich life. And if today's the only life I got, then woohoo, let's party. So that's kind of why I do that. Is I wanted to show that he's just going to keep laughing through whatever happens to him. In fact, already that he doesn't even bat an eye at the fact that he just pops into another universe. He's not like super disoriented. He's not like, whoa, what's going on? Where am I? He's like, hey, what's going on over here? Let's go find out, and it just jumps right into the fray. Like, he just doesn't care.
So is he able to control it and like go back, or like does it?
He has no way to knowing how he gets back. Somebody pushes him through one of them. He falls through another one. One just pulls out from behind him. I mean, just things happen. So it's all circumstantial. There is a plan. It's not totally random, and you guys will see at the end of the third issue that there's something bigger at play and definitely more ominous. But for Spider-Squirrel, no, he has no control over these things. There is. Let's just say I have left the doors open for something similar to happen again at some point, but and the third issue we'll get into that.
So we have J. Michael Miller over on YouTube stopping in to say can't wait to support Milestone on Zoop. Milestone is amazing. I cannot wait to break into that. I had fun reading both of them, honestly. It was one of those things. I was preparing for this, and then I jumped into the StreamYard to get my camera ready, and then I seen Charlie in there. I was like, oh crap, I gotta stop reading. He's in here now. And like we were talking, and I'm like, okay, I gotta keep reading this. I can't stop. It's so good. Like,
oh, it's good. Thank you. Milestone. Thank you. I'm as excited about it as everybody else at this point because I didn't write this one. So this is one of those. I hand the reins over to an entire creative team. And I absolutely love my collaborators. Vito, I've already mentioned Vito once already, at least. He's a brother, he's a friend. We're booth mates in Baltimore last year. He is someone that I absolutely trust implicitly with my characters. And so when we were talking about Milestone, I always had a plan, and you'll see it as you read through Spider-Squirrel. Like, Milestone takes a bigger, he appears in a shadowed cameo at the end of issue 2, and then he makes a bigger, thorough appearance in issue 3 and plays a bigger role there. You'll see a couple things. We'll highlight him in a not an epilogue, but in kind of a, let's just call it a side adventure at the end of the book. After all the shenanigans are over, the bad guys are taken care of or whatever, there's kind of like a little bit of a, what's the fallout? And we'll visit a few other characters. We'll visit Team Force 5, which is getting their own book. We'll visit Milestone, which is getting his own book. We'll visit Alpha Elite, which is getting his own book. So these are all just like little moments of, hey, what happened after everything kind of stopped? But Milestone, Vito and I were talking about it, and this is that character that I wanted him to be. I've described him many times as, he's got the godlike powers of a Silver Surfer. He's just up there. You mentioned OP earlier. Like, this dude is like, if base 10 is a superhero, then he's base 15 or 20. So he's really powerful. He's probably the most powerful being in my universe. If he's not, he's one of two. And yet he's also not from our universe. Yeah. You like that, huh? he's not from our universe, and his universe no longer exists. So there's a little bit of stuff going on there. So he's got the powers of a Silver Surfer and the guilt and the loneliness of a daredevil. He's a man without a home, and he's trying to find his way. At the same time, there's a lot going on around him. So there's plenty of comic book adventure, cosmic comic book adventure that happen. But Vito's writing a phenomenal book. Ariel's doing just good golly, dude. I'm so glad he's on this book because somebody's gonna scoop him up. I know he's already done Evil Ernie, but someone's gonna see this and just go, "We need him on our book." And I'm gonna lose him.
The more you break this down, like when I first read both of these, I'm like, holy crap! Like Charlie has this massive like multiverse inside of his head. I was like, there has to be like a team of people inside of his head working. And like as you break it down, it makes sense now. Because it was just insane. Because dude, we were introduced between like Milestone in the first 3 volumes of Spider-Squirrel, like 16 different teams. It felt like of Marvel like Avengers size teams. Like I was like, holy crap! Like, and then I love in Milestone the one team, like their catchphrase. I was like, dude, this is so good. This is too good. Oh my god! I don't want to spoil it, but like
all Vito. Yeah.
Like the name, and they're like, let it. I'm like, oh my god, this is chef kiss. Like,
well, Vito, if you're watching, brother, I hope you took that one, and you're watering with joy.
Oh my god, when I read it, I was like, Jesus Christ, this has to be the best like name for a team, and then their catchphrase, like this is too good.
That has been my favorite. That has been like my highlight joy. So that team, by the way, and this isn't too spoilery. I'll tell everybody. If you know of the Golden Guard, Vito and myself and Carlos Caballero created the Golden Guard. We had it had fits and stops, and so it's still in process. But these guys are an alt universe kind of a Golden Guard, so it's a nice little nod to an existing set of characters who do appear in Spider-Squirrel. They appear in the last page of the first issue, and then throughout in the first part of the second issue. So you'll meet the Golden Guard, even if you don't know who they are at that point. So anyway, yeah, it's great. Vito has so many moments like that in this book. There's just, when it's done, you're gonna go, oh my god, I gotta read that all over again. I mean, because I've read 2 issues of script and the entire outline for the series, and I'm just, as a fan, I'm sitting back going, I can't believe this is my stuff, you know. So.
Yeah. So is it hard not to jump in and try to take creative control with it being your character? Like,
no. First off, I think working with Vito makes it easier because we do have there's enough commonality in our thought processes, and sometimes we'll be messaging and it'll be like, and we'll cross post the same damn thing. We're like, how did that happen? Well, duh, great minds think alike, I guess, or psychotic minds think alike. But Vito, it's easy to trust him because he knows where I want to go with this, and he understands how I want to do things. So it's actually, no, it's not hard at all. Now, Spider-Squirrel isn't over just because Volume 1's over. Milestone's coming out next. I just finished writing a 24-page main story for an 80-page annual of Spider-Squirrel, which will be the main story for 24 pages. And then, 56-ish pages of anthological stories. So these are actually an anthology, all in the Zion universe, all in my universe. And so I have been working with other creators like Russell Novelty, who did Ichabod Jones and is, by the way, one of the most incredible Kickstarter guides out there. So if you're not following Russell, you should be. So he wrote a story. I've got a bunch of creators across the board. Morgan Quaid from Australia wrote a story. It's fun. So what I'm finding though is everyone is very responsible when they're dealing with somebody else's universe, and that I think makes it easier for me. I can go, yeah, I don't think that guy would sound like that, or oh, that's kind of cool. And there have been times where they've surprised me. I go, I never thought of that. Keep that. So yeah. It's really fun. And the same with the art styles. This person wouldn't have that kind of body language, so you do have to manage it a little bit more than like I do with working with Vito. Vito asks me things, and I just go, yeah, duh, do it. But it's not really that challenging. What was really entertaining, and this is kind of a news break, so Cody exclusive, I guess, is
hey.
There you go. Everybody started recording, like, oh,
they're like, hey.
we're listening. So Dean Haspel is actually creating a character for this anthology, for this annual rather, and this character. So Spider-Squirrel, like, thematically is like way up here, crazy, silly, fun, balls to the wall, nuts, and then Milestone is it's energetic, but it's very cerebral. It's deeper. It's a lot more of a traditional superhero story with clearly some depth to the character that's going to start coming out. But this one gets into the weird, and I really love what Dean did here. So we have I think it's 6 pages of Dean Haspel created story, created the character, wrote and drew the story, and I think you guys are really going to love this. So it's really neat to have other people playing my play yard, my sandbox, and big guys like Dean, who did the Fox and has done the Red Hook, of course, his own stuff. Those books are great. If you like Dean Haspel, you're really going to love what he created for us in the Zion universe. I can't say more than that because the character is kind of it's an interesting little thing we're holding on to. But he's making his debut in this annual, so it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I get to work with all these creators. I can't complain. I mean, who would I be to complain? These guys are.
That sounds like a dream.
It's phenomenal. Catherine Calamia, she's they just created their own imprint, and I should remember the name of it. Now my brain just fizzled out, but it's early. I'll take that excuse. But Kat got to write a story in this too, and I really love working with her. She's a good person, great friend. She's a phenomenal promoter and another great Kickstarter mentor person. She is outstanding. She did By Visibility, if you guys know that anthology.
Yeah.
Yep. So she's incredible, and she wrote a story in this too. So dude, I'm so blessed, or whatever you want to call it. I'm so fortunate to work with all these different people. I'll never complain about what they write.
No, that's so awesome. Let's go ahead. Since we kind of built it up, let's go over the first part of Spider-Squirrel and kind of get a deeper look at it. This
was fun to write because I love to have a good splash. It's a classic comic book thing, right? Where you have this big splashy intro. I'm fine with books that open up with like a bunch of panels and like, tick, 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 tick. It makes me want to flip to some spread or something. That's fine too. But I really like this. And so for this one, for me, it was great when I wrote it because I wrote obviously the caption boxes and the one piece of dialogue. But all I said was to the artist, DC Stolpner, I said, hey, DC, this is actually just a big splash page. But what I want is Spider-Squirrel kind of bam, all up in your face, some kind of cool pose. And if you read Scott McDaniel's, obviously Scott and his art were an influence. Scott and Chuck Dixon's Nightwing, I want a bunch of these acrobatic shadows. And I expected like 3 or 4. I got like 12.5. So DC went absolutely nuts. And I love this guy. So it's a great advantage of working with collaborators, real true collaborators, rather than just dictating everything.
So we scroll down here and we kind of get introduction to him and Trash Panda, but we don't. So the thing I like too is when we see Trash Panda, like I didn't know right away that this was Trash Panda. Even when he was in his outfit, I didn't know until it turned around and you seen the logo on his chest. So I like how it's not like readily just thrown in your face that he's Trash Panda, but you get the little nod, like right here, it's the little panda poster right there. So yeah, I loved it. And then right here, the branding. So like the moo, like the cow, and then the Dr. Sodium, like that was just hilarious.
That's all DC. So the only thing I remember saying, I gotta go back in my script, but I remember saying, hey, Spider-Squirrel's undressing, but his mask should still be on because there's a commentary about that, and it's like in the 3rd or 4th panel there. And they're basically dialoguing. So Trash Panda sitting in his human form at a laptop. They're in their dorm room. They're University of Richmond students, so Richmond Spiders, like basketball billboard banner or something like that, should be in the background somewhere. I'm a huge Jordan fan. He's the GOAT. You can't argue with me. And Spider-Squirrel's gonna have to be a Jordan fan, so maybe a Jordan poster or whatever else you want to throw in there. And the rest DC just did. So everything is all DC Stolpner, and brilliant too, because he obviously read ahead. I did not mention putting a window in the room, obviously somewhere, and I get it. Most rooms do have windows, but it was kind of important to be seen because in the second issue, the window's used, and I never said anything. So he drew it in there, knowing that later on he's going to be drawing a scene where there's a window.
And that goes to show you how important that relationship between, creator and artist is, that relationship and just that connection to kind of get it fleshed out. Like it's really important. So one thing about Trash Panda I love is just the character design overall. Why make him bald if he turns into a hairy panda?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. The number one reason is he's actually modeled after my friend Jeremy, who is the real life Trash Panda. Jeremy's a United States Marine veteran. He also works for the government, and he actually works for Spartan Race. And I mentioned the Spartan races and stuff that I did earlier. So Jeremy and I he's local. We go way back. He actually is married to a young lady that I was in my youth group when I was doing church youth group stuff way back when. So it's kind of funny. Our worlds just kind of came together.
Collide, yeah.
But we like these two. We're a couple of ding dongs that just like to have fun. So.
Oh, that is funny. So let's go ahead. We'll scroll down, and then right here too, the Meta Harmony account. I love that Trash Panda's trying to set him up with this online like superhero dating like account. What was some of the inspiration for that? That was just hilarious. I never would have thought of like a dating site for superheroes.
Yeah, and I actually registered the domain name before I wrote it. Which I think should take you to my backer kit. But it's funny. I wanted to. So I didn't mention this earlier. The book. It's one thing to say that Spider-Squirrel's me. It's another thing to say that the book is actually quasi-autobiographical. So. And what I mean by that is I'll take moments of my life, my real life, and I'll insert them in the most comedic superhero stupid way I can. Mm-hmm. So it's not incriminating in any way, shape, or form. I've never been on Tinder or any other dating site ever in my life, but I've seen so many freaking like Christian Harmony or Meta, whatever, eHarmony, mm-hmm. That's what it is. eHarmony sites and all this stuff and the ads everywhere. And I was like, it'd be funny if we actually had a superhero version of this. And that was kind of the inspiration. And the initial thread here is, Spider-Squirrel just broke up with his girl, and Trash Panda was like, well, let's go dating, And so that was like my best friend in high school, and actually throughout my life, Bird, Dennis, he and I would do this all the time. We'd go out together and we'd pick up. Well, we'd pick up ladies. I mean, pick up girlfriends.
I get it. Yeah,
always. And we played the game. It was, oh, hey, my friend's over here. He's really shy, but he really wants to talk to you. You want to? Can I introduce you to him? And always when she had a girlfriend, so we'd always kind of go together. Mm-hmm. And so we needed to find Spider-Squirrel girlfriend. Anyway, so that's kind of it. It's really nothing more than that, and just it was a great way to give. A one-page snapshot of their relationship right up to that. These guys.
I love the dynamics too. He's like, I don't need an account, but any promising non-stalkery weirdos we should ping back. And then this is where we get a look at Ultra Urbanite, an audio-powered hulking baddie from the 1990s, and his music follows suit. I mean, his music's all from like the 90s too. Cypress Hill. I thought that was a nice touch. Were you a big fan of Cypress Hill growing up?
I still am. In fact, I introduced my kids to Cypress Hill and gradually other gangster rap from the 90s, 80s and 90s, because I grew up with that. I grew up, in the advent of Beastie Boys and Run DMC into what became known as gangster rap with, mm-hmm. 2 Live Crew and Eazy-E and NWA and all these guys. So, and I still listen to Dre. So yeah, absolutely some inspiration there.
Charlie forgot about Dre.
I never forget about Dre, exactly. And that outfit actually is modeled after an outfit that I wore. True story. So it's just one of those things that I wore in the 90s. I had the big blingy, herringbone necklace, and we call them wife beaters now. They were just called tank tops back then, mm-hmm. and a Carl Kanai vest and pair of baggy pants. So that was me.
The Jankos when I was younger, right?
Yeah, I had Jankos too. Yeah, which are back, by the way. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we get the rift right off, that something's not right. He just magically appeared out of nowhere, and it is like 31 years from where he came from. He was displaced from the 1990s, and right off the rip, he's like, well, I don't care where I'm at. Let's put in some work, and then he goes and tracks down a bank. And music seemed like it was a big theme in here. We had two cases where people were like listening to music to get into their zone. What was kind of your influence for that?
Because I did the same thing. I don't. It's funny. I don't run with headphones. I don't listen to headphones when I'm running, walking, or doing anything in a race. I'm kind of weird that way. But when I write, we just had a Twitter thread about this yesterday. I think it was Tim Seeley asked about it. It was either Tim or Pat Zurcher. But he said, anybody else listen to theme music while you're writing? I was like, yep, me all the time. Movies constantly, and I try to find movies that are that fit the whatever I'm writing, the scene or the moment or the book or whatever. Funny, music is just, I can't dance for crap, can't sing for squat, but I love music. And I think it's one of those things. I listen to K-pop even. I have teenage kids, and I get introduced to BTS, and then now I'm listening to like Blackpink, and I'm listening to I love J-Hope's new album. Like, it's like, dude, it's so good, that kind of thing. And so I listen to all kinds of music, but I'll also flip over to Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. I listen to some Rat Pack classic stuff. I listen to the Crooners. I'll listen to so yeah, music is huge for me, and I draw a lot of inspiration, I think, emotionally from music in my books.
I really liked this next scene down here too. So they're getting ready to go to this place, and it was just a really humorous interaction between these two. Right here is kind of where you got the first little glimpse of his logo on the front, but outside of that, once again, you have no idea who this guy, who Trash Panda really is. And then the little, nods to the superheroes right here. Like, you have like the little Batman lookalike right here. And this almost kind of gave me like the Carrie Robin-esque type of vibe. The Robin from The Dark Knight Returns.
Yep.
All of that.
Yeah,
man, I loved it.
Yeah, I told DC, I said, the only thing I know is that this place it's named Perez and Wolfman's because obviously way before George was diagnosed, or at least publicly diagnosed with cancer. But this is just a nod from a fan, So this nightclub makes, I think, 3 appearances in the first volume in different ways. So it's just one of those things. It'll be one of those background places that we'll visit frequently. So expect to see a lot of the place. It's a lot of fun.
I love it. It's like hood up, hood down, like just like the humorous like bro moment. We go back to Ultra Urbanite, and I love this too. So he's able to change his size and form.
Yeah. So what he does is you've seen characters like Dazzler. Funny enough, she's actually kind of an inspiration for this character in a small way. What I wanted to do with him is I wanted to have a character that could absorb sound and specifically for him, music. So he's got classic headphones, Walkman, cassette tape kind of thing, which you'll see on the next page, I think. And, or actually here, And yeah, he converts the sound into mass. So it increases mass, which proportionally increases his strength and the relative physical attributes that go with that. So
what about the music does that though? Is it the beat? Is it the vocals? Is it like the audio? Like what part of that?
I don't get into it. I just kind of, it's just music.
hey, and no worries. I always like asking those questions because sometimes there is a little backstory to it. I love the fact though that it's just music in general that pumps him up. Is there any, like you said, he makes a comeback in future issues? Is there any like type of music that's gonna like give like different effects, or is that yet to be revealed?
So that is yet to be revealed. So you'll just have to read Milestone and find out what happens next. So.
All right, and then we see him smashing into a vault, and of course it is filled with some payday, gold bars, cash galore. And then we transition to the dating scene. I love this too. This interaction, like the superhero speed dating.
Yep.
Oh man, this is great. So, what was kind of some of your thoughts and inspirations behind this?
Well, I mentioned earlier that I dated a lot in high school, and my wife loves telling the story how we got together because she makes me look even worse than I am. And it's hilarious, and I deserve every second of it. But no, some of these are actual ex-girlfriends with permission, who I made into superheroes. Permission not just from my wife, but also from them, who I just, I threw them in here. I thought it'd be a lot of fun to showcase, one, a bunch of just different random characters. Two, I wanted to have a little bit of fun with what is Spider-Squirrel's type? And it's honestly a question that I asked a lot when I was dating. is, what is my type? Whether I dated a black girl or a goth girl, whether I dated a hairdresser or wannabe hairdresser because I was young, or a skater. It's like I never really could figure out what. So you kind of see this a little bit in this scene, and it's just again a little tiny bit of me, but really it's a lot of fun.
A vampire though, or is this a nod to one of your exes being a bloodsucker? Like, dang, Charlie.
So I am a kid from the 90s, and what was one of the most popular goth vampire movies ever, right? Lost Boys. And so I had a girlfriend who was a huge Lost Boys fan, and she and I both dressed kind of like this for a little bit. So I had
Charlie at his goth stage. Let's go.
I know. It's weird. It's weird listening to Guns N' Roses and Eazy-E and being goth. It's just so that just doesn't work.
It's very conflicting. I get it.
So yeah, this is just fun dialogue. I mean, that's again more character kind of stuff. I wanted people to understand more than anything the dynamic between Spider-Squirrel and Trash Panda.
I love the camouflage. So the names, dude, were just like so hilarious too.
Oh, and thank you. And John Rock, who did the cover, he did the color on this issue. Notice that Cammy's hair changes ever so slightly at every panel. That's not lighting; that's on purpose. So,
no, that's so cool. And that's like, I didn't notice that off the rip. So that's a nice little thing that you threw in there. That you really have to pay attention to get. I love that. So we go back to Ultra Urbanite breaking into the bank, and he's surrounded by police, and things are getting quickly out of hand. He throws the vault through the building, and this is when we see the police requesting the MICs, which of course is our superhero team right over here. So can you give us a breakdown about the MICs and what they are?
Yeah, so yeah, the Metahuman Incident Corps is, if you think about, we have SWAT, right? Or we have ECU, right? We have all these special, or CSU rather. So ECU is a school. But you have these special crime units that do certain things. And in a world where there's superheroes, you would imagine that we would, aside from relying on superheroes, which are technically vigilantes, you want your police or military force to kind of help manage this. And so the MICs or the mics are that force. So they have specialized body armor. They have cuffs and things that can help neutralize powers. Not always, they don't always work because everybody's powers come from different sources. So they're constantly adapting their technology, and so forth. So that's what the MICs are. Now the MICs, like every other cop or police force, they have a scanner, right? So Spider-Squirrel and Trash Panda have an app on their phones and their laptops that monitor those scanners digitally and notify these guys that, hey, the MICs have been called, which that'll bring the superheroes to help out, hopefully anyway. It doesn't always work out that way.
I love this little costume right here. This guy, he's like in a mouse suit. It almost feels like it's a nod to Batman, but like a rat man.
I know.
Oh my God, that's zoom too fast. Hold on, right here. Good. Yeah, right there.
Again, that's DC, man. That guy just worked stuff in. There's so many background things that I'm still catching. Like people point stuff out and I go, oh yeah, how did I miss that? So
we see them getting the call, and I love how you said your Marine friend was an influence for Trash Panda. He's just like instantly like, yes, let's jump into battle. I'm about this. This is what I'm about. This is what I've been made for. Like. And then, things are insane. Ultra Urbanite is a beast to be reckoned with, smashing cars into buildings too. I really love this image right here. I've never really seen that happen. Where the villains like start just smashing into buildings. Usually they're throwing the cars like at people. So it was really cool to kind of see this dude just losing control and just smashing like the Hulk into buildings and stuff.
So that was a fun little dialogue with DC and I, if I remember correctly. And it's been almost 2 years since that piece was done. But we were talking about Action Comics #1. And like, how fun would it be to homage it in like a villain bad way? And so this is kind of the result. So this is, in a way, this is the Action Comics #1 homage that we're doing.
No, that is so cool. And yeah, no one could stop me. Until his batteries die. Once your batteries die, I have a feeling that he loses his powers. But this was cool too. Hold up there, Ice Cube. I love that little nod there too. And then we see Spider-Squirrel jumping into action. This was such a beautiful shot too. I love this.
So true story. That actually had dialogue. When I wrote this, I said, hey, splash page, Spider-Squirrel maybe vaulting over and doing a parkour vault or something over a police car. Pick your angle, whatever. I'm not going to dictate this. This is another moment where I was able to co-create and truly collaborate with DC. When I got the page, I was like, I can't put dialogue on this. Who puts dialogue on a page this pretty?
Yeah.
So I moved it and I actually rewrote it. And the next panel has what would have been potentially the dialogue. I have to go back to my drafts to remember exactly what I wrote originally, but he was supposed to be yelling some kind of like stupid comment, like, hey, Straight Outta Compton was 3 years ago or something like that. And I got rid of that. And I realized, you know what, let's just go with, I need a catchphrase. And
I
that's
love the
actually
attention to detail too. The way he's holding the light to vault over, like that's gorgeous.
Again, DC's a brilliant artist. I mentioned, I think I mentioned it to you backstage, and I wrote a 10-page epilogue to volume 1 that'll show up first in the trade paperback, so there'll be some value to the trade paperback. And a new character shows up in there. DC is coming back to do the art for that. So the beauty and detail you see here, you're gonna love what he's doing in this epilogue. Cool. Yeah.
So right here we kind of see something interesting happen. So, he says he really needs a catchphrase. Ultra Urbanite's thrown off, and then he kind of goes into this weird portal. Now this is kind of something similar that Ultra Urbanite comes out of at the start of the issue. Do they share like some sort of like similarity?
Those breaches or rifts, whatever you want to call them, they have a common origin, and you'll get into that by the end of the second issue. You'll understand that there's a little bit more going on, and none of it's accidental.
Okay. So, and then Ultra Urbanite's like, well, okay then, like this dude is about to like fight me, but who knows where he went. And then this is kind of where Trash Panda, he's like, so this is the right spot, where's my boy at? Like where'd everybody go? And I love how he kind of is just like walking. He kind of gives me like that dad feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this was again, I wanted it to be kind of cash, like, hey guys, I don't see anything going on. Where's everybody? What's going on? Where's the action? And so, DC again did a master of body language.
So then we dive into here, and I love this. It took me every ounce of nerve not to save this image and share it on Twitter because this was so gorgeous. I loved it so much. I mean, dude, what was your when you first saw this? What did you think?
Oh, I got more than I asked for. As with everything with DC, that guy is, again, I can't say enough. I can't give him enough acclaim. Some of the characters here are like Ramel Hill, his Pink Wing and the Controller, or in the first panel, they show up. So it's a nice little cameo for those guys. A few of Mike Exner's characters show up in here. A couple of DC's own creations show up in here. And so in this book, and oh my gosh, I forget the name of it now. It's on Comixology, and I've read it, and I should know better. But it's Mike Exner and DC Stulpner's own book, that fourth one down. And obviously, kind of a goofy nod to Marvel or DC characters too. Kind of in a really super comedic way.
Yeah, this almost looks like Doc Ock.
This part where Spider-Squirrel's got his arms folded and just kind of casually falling through, I loved it because it's exactly what I asked for. I was like, hey, by the time, he should tumble through these rifts, and then by the time he gets to that last one, he should be basically resigned to whatever, and so and that's exactly what, yeah.
So what's going on here? It looks like he's like in the prehistoric age right here with like a two-headed like triceratops. Like this is insane too.
I honestly have no idea what's going on there.
And then it almost looks like it's almost looking like the Flash, like a supersized version of the Flash fighting like a huge clown.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, some of this stuff is so. I still have to go back and ask DC.
In the balloon, I love how these balloon animals are like lasers shooting skyscrapers. Like it's so crazy. I love it. This is awesome. And this is where we get our. Go ahead.
Yep. No, I was saying we just wanted to have a show the bizarre. Have fun. So.
And this is where we get our first taste. So I remember when I was reading this, and I zoomed out. I'm like, okay, this is a completely different art. I was like, wow, maybe he had a different artist on this or something like. And then I'm scrolling down and I see there's right here's that creative team, and I'm like, okay, I don't see his name at all. Like, what is going on? Did he have his character go into a different story? And that's exactly what happens. Like, he falls into a completely different story, a completely different universe, and it's by a completely different team. Like, so this creative team, like this comic is actually running right now, right? Like this is an actual comic.
Eric has his Steel Wolf comic. So Steel Wolf has shown up in Sentinels, and he's got a couple other appearances, but he's got a book coming out soon. Eric, if you're watching, comment and send people links. But yeah, this is now not necessarily in continuity for his character. I mean, it is in continuity, but it may not be part of a story directly. I did give the writers freedom. I said, hey, I just want him to show up in your universe. You write him doing whatever with whatever of your characters you want. I'll help you manage his the dialogues to maintain some consistency without changing a whole lot. So I did not write Spider-Squirrel's dialogue. There are some places where I'll make suggestions or say, hey, yeah, you wouldn't say that or whatever. And there's some other things that, like, he says zoinks in one of these, and I'm like, that's something I actually say. So okay, but I do know for a fact, for example, Scott Fogg at the end of this first issue, Scott wrote Spider-Squirrel showing up in Phileas Reed, Scott's book. Scott said this is actually in continuity, and to some extent they'll reference this again later in Scott's book.
Oh, that is awesome. That's so cool.
So they have the freedom to make this pure continuity and actually make it part of, like, oh, hey, between this and this, you should go read Spider-Squirrel number whatever.
So we get a nice little introduction. He gets thrown in here, and then there's a fight already going on. And I love how it was just so different. Like, this dude's Russian, very Russian. In fact, like, I was like, okay, I have no idea what this word is. And it's almost gives you like a Russian, like Superman vibe to it. Like the nobility of the way he holds himself. And
that's a perfect description, by the way, from Eric's character. Everything I've read of Steel Wolf, that's a perfect description.
So he's like, why can't I end up on planet Spring Break? I love that too, just the humor that he has. So you can already tell that he's kind of used to following into this like dimension.
Yeah, it's even less than that. Like he's indifferent. I mentioned earlier, like he just doesn't take everything. He takes things seriously, but he doesn't act like it. And even for himself, he's like, you know what, whatever. I mean, I wish it would have been like, babes in bikinis or, dudes in shorts on a calisthenics beach or something. But instead, I'm here. Okay, fine. So he just jumps in. I mean, it doesn't matter.
And then I love how the creative team drew this fight too. Volt gets behind him, uses the cape to cover his face. But then we see Spider-Squirrel jump into action too. And yeah, this was cool just seeing these two interact. I know you said you kind of let them do their own thing, but the way they drew them too, it just looked gorgeous.
Oh yeah, Mitch Ballard's a phenomenal artist. Mitch is fantastic. In fact, I'm a corner box fan, and so I had Mitch do a corner box thing for me recently. So he's a good dude.
And then right here we see Spider-Squirrel get picked up by Steel Wolf, and I love this too. He kicks him, let go of my ego. So yeah, he has that like 90s humor to it. And then he's like, "Oh man, you're like what are you? Concrete concrete man? Like what's going on here?" And then I am Steel Wolf. And I love how his text is. It makes you feel like he's speaking with a Russian like accent,
Yeah. I think this is Full Court Press, right? That I think did the lettering in this one. Yeah, this is again. Great job capturing the character. I can't not read this character in a Russian language, like a Russian accent. I hear, Victor Drag, I hear Ivan Drago or whatever in my head sometimes. So I said Victor. I know a guy named Victor.
And then, yeah, right here, like we find out that this guy's not surprised one bit. He's part of a multiversal travel. He's part of a group where that's common. And that's something that happens, and we kind of get a little bit more of a dialogue of what's happening. So what are we seeing happen right here?
So so Eric wrote this because Steel Wolf is his character. Steel Wolf at the time when this was scripted was a part of the Imperium Command. His wife, I believe, still is. And the Imperium Command actually is a part of the power company. Sorry, let me get this right. Steel Wolf is a part of the power company now. The Imperium Command is another book that is out there, and you guys can definitely go Google it and pick it up. I believe it's on Indie Planet, but that's what he's referencing there. And there are some multiversal activities taking place there,
And right
and
here,
crossovers and cool.
across town, we see Vault is up to no good once again. But then Spider-Squirrel comes out of nowhere, so I love this little interaction too. Because he says it upside down, which I thought was just like perfect. Upside down and backwards. Like he's looking like, through a mirror and everything. Yeah, this is gorgeous. I love the way they had these two characters interact. We see that they're getting ready to once again do some battling. And some interesting dialogue too. Come on, man, what have I done to you? I'm just trying to make a living here. Tell you what, let me bounce and I'll cut you in for 5% of the take. And then he's like, 5%, even if I were tempted, I'd be insulted. Like, well, a man's got to maintain a profit after all. I just love this dialogue. They did a really good job. And then the way they shown the action between the two, like jumping from rooftop to rooftop, was just phenomenal.
Yeah, and the fun part again, having the dialogue follow through. My favorite thing about comics is everything's just a moment in time. So it's amazing. You can have some, like you can read a book right now and pull it off the shelf from Marvel, DC, or any independent, and somebody's in the middle of doing like a jump that probably lasted 3 seconds, but they had like 5 minutes of dialogue. So it's just fun how comics is really gives you that flexibility in this medium. I love it. So, and it's great because the word balloons become part of the art because they should.
Yeah. It almost gives me a little bit of like a Nightwing feel, like with how aerobatic he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Inspiration. Nightwing is definitely. I'm a huge Nightwing fan.
Oh my god, the Tom Taylor run so far has just been phenomenal, dude. Holy crap!
I tell you, I haven't enjoyed Nightwing this much probably since the Dixon McDaniel run. So I agree.
So right here, maybe you should pay more attention where you leap, comrade. So I just love just how Russian this guy is. And then a deal is a deal. We see them shake hands and they're getting ready to figure out what exactly is going on. But then, another portal comes out of nowhere right behind him, sucks him away. And then this guy's just like, I wish you a safe journey. So he's not even that phased. But then for more Steel Wolf, check out the Angry Bear Press store on indieplanet.com. So I like the little tribute right there, the little nod to where to find out more. So we see Spider-Squirrel traveling to a new dimension. And this time it's to Watersville. The locals called it Weirdsville for a number of reasons. And this art style, once again, I just loved it. It was a completely different style than the last one. And this completely different protagonist here too. So this is a protagonist too, right? Or was this a villain?
Yeah. Okay, no, that's Hypergirl.
Yeah, Hypergirl was awesome. It kind of gave me a Iron Man vibe, the way she's in her normal suit and then all of a sudden she's just boom. So she's ready to go. Her suit is pretty badass too. I love this design.
Yeah, you can actually read more about Hypergirl from Marcosia Press. They're a UK-based publisher. Ian and David do that book, and there's a couple volumes I think available today from those guys. And they should be a nice little. Again, I encouraged everybody to put like a link, or not a link, an actual, because it's a freaking comic book, but an actual like URL or location to where they can buy these books to follow more. If you like Hypergirl. And like you said, if you think her costume's badass, go buy her book, and those guys and enjoy it.
I love how she's like, "Oh, you're a clown," and he's like, "I'm not a clown. My dad thinks that's a cool name." Like I just love Spider-Squirrel's like humor throughout the whole entire thing. And this is such an interesting showdown between them. We see them starting to square off and fight. And I love this. I love whenever I see this within comics when they give the logo when they introduce themselves. Like, this is so cool. Hypergirl is a pretty cool name, but Spider-Squirrel is just awesome. So like the humor between the name exchanges was just like so spot on. And I love this showdown too, where the logo, like everything's blacked out besides the logo, and then the eye right here.
Yep. Yeah, David did a great job with this. David and Ian. I was really, really, really excited to get this done. I thought, to your point, I love how different the art style was, because I wanted this vast array of styles, because it needed to be obvious. I think if they were too close to each other, and I actually reorganized these, the way I gave everyone the parameters is that he needs to enter with a portal and exit with a portal. How, I don't care, whether he falls through, gets pushed through, jumps into, doesn't matter, but that's the entry and exit. That's the only real like definitive parameters. And You can reference that he just came through from somewhere else, but you don't know where. I don't know where, because I reorganized it and I structured it. And when I put the book together, I wanted to assemble it so that I had very different art styles when the two were adjacent. I didn't want it to go like from one cartoony style to a similar cartoony
one. Yeah,
style.
I gotcha. Yeah. I love this page too. The way you see Hypergirl power up, oh, you're silly. The power's not in the suit, it's in me. And you see her kind of get a whole new look to the suit. And the way this was done, like the paneling and this backsplash, the way it was like kind of like bled into like the smoke of her lifting off is so cool.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's nice seeing them with the letters sometimes too.
Yeah. And then we see another portal happen. She punches him and he gets punched into a portal, which I thought was a really nice nod too. That was really cool. And then we get the little link right here. Hypergirl is Ian Sharman and David Wine and of Mark. How do you say that? Marcosia Enterprises. Thank you for that. And then we see the Super Alleyway Brawler 2. So I think right here would be a good stopping point. Kind of leaving right here. I love this look right here. How you did like the Street Fighter look of Trash Panda versus Ultra Urbanite. Like I just loved how this looked. This was really cool tribute.
I gotta tell you, again, credit to DC. I wrote it. I said, hey, I want to have like this, I mentioned to you backstage, like, this round one fight, kind of a Street Fighter, choose your, whatever. Something like that. I want these guys to square off. And even if you want to get like 8-bit or 16-bit with it, go ahead, And so DC said, all right, cool. And I get more comments on the introduction to this fight scene and the fight scene than anything. And so again, all the credit, I'll give it all to DC Stoltner for what he did.
I like how
he took.
The
transformation.
You guys did the transformation in the shadow too. I thought that was really clever. So you didn't like flat out show him transforming. You kind of used like the shadow to do it for you.
Yep. Yeah, that was on purpose. I mean, I thought you just need to. You'll recognize the costume anyway. We just needed to show the transition. We didn't actually have to show the full transition, and we decided to do it through a silhouette or a shadow.
And I love, like I said, I won't spoil too much, but I love how he eats trash and then he listens to music too. So it's like kind of like a music showdown. Yep.
You almost get a theme in your head, which, by the way, we did create a Spider-Squirrel theme song. I did that for issue 2, where I'm a huge fan of, I love wrestling intro songs. And I happen to know Mikey Ruckus from, if you guys watch AEW wrestling or AEW, he actually is the main intro music writer for all of the wrestlers. And
that's so cool.
He's such a great dude. He's a local. He's in Virginia, and I absolutely love the guy. And I've known him for a few years. And he said, "Yeah, I'll do one for you." And he wrote Spider-Squirrel's theme song. And then we worked with Omega Sparks, who has done some of the raps for the rapping for some of those entry songs. He did he spit it. Spit the lyrics on my soundtrack. So that's phenomenal.
So cool. Yeah, that's so awesome. So right here is I think we went over about 20 pages. You guys are gonna have to check out the book once it's printed and once it's ready. You said that's available to be purchased yet, or are you still shipping that out?
No, it's right now. Yeah, no, Spider-Squirrel is you just go to spidersquirrel.com and you can pick up all 3 issues right now. And what we just went through is actually about half of. I dropped it in the private chat. We went through 20 pages, so that's right at half of the first issue. So the first issue is about, I think it was 42 pages of story, plus I gave 10 pages of previews for future books, including Milestone in black and white, and then because we hadn't had it colored yet.
So we dropped that link in chat. So anyone that's interested, be sure to check that out and pick up these books. These books are remarkable. With that being said, what's next? Where are you heading next for Spider-Squirrel? And I guess let's kind of dive into a little bit with Milestone and where you're heading next with that as well.
Yeah, so Spider-Squirrel, I'm already plotting volume 2. So I don't even have an issue count for that one yet. And maybe another 3 issues, maybe 5, maybe 6. We'll figure it out. But I have a few things that I want to hit in Spider-Squirrel Volume 2. In between that, there are 2 bridges from Volume 1 to Volume 2. One, I mentioned earlier I'm doing a 10-page epilogue that's going to show up in the Volume 1 trade first. That is the first print of it. But if you collected the floppies and you don't want to buy the trade, also, I'm not punishing anybody. I hate that. So I do want to make sure that those last 10 pages of the trade are going to be the first 10 pages of Volume 2.
That's cool. So
I'll reprint them in Volume 2, Issue 1, because it is a bridge, and I want to make sure people get a sense of what we're doing. So there's that, and in that 10-page epilogue, we're introducing the librarian. The librarian is my wife, so she's making her first appearance. You may see her at a con dressed up in cosplay as the librarian at some point. But super cute character. She's kind of my, I guess the way to describe her, she's like the Watcher. She knows and sees all. She's kind of like Kang also, but just not the villainy part, where she can go throughout time and she can see throughout time, kind of like an Oracle. Not like Batgirl Oracle, but like Oracle.
You better not make her a villain. The wife would not be happy, huh?
No. And there's a fun little. There's this. I can't wait to get the art for this from DC. I think you guys are gonna love what I'm picturing anyway for her library, the Athenium. You guys are gonna get. I know DC's gonna just blow my mind on this one, so I can't wait to see what he does here. But there's also there's a fun little. The last page, hopefully, will get all of you going, oh. So anyway, so there's that. That's next. And then we'll do the Spider-Squirrel annual. So it's an 80-page Titan-sized annual that will have a 24-page Spider-Squirrel story that happens between volumes.
Okay.
And then there'll be 50-odd pages of backup stories. So somewhere between 4 and 8 pages again, kind of like what we did with the Spider-Squirrel, where he bounced through the multiverse. The difference here is we are just going to bounce through my universe. So we'll do a small short story from different creative teams and touch on different characters of mine. Watchguard will show up again. So for the first time in a decade, they'll show up in a book. We'll get a story with Trash Panda he'll actually bounce out of our universe and do something fun. Can't spoil that one.
That's cool.
I mentioned that earlier, Dean Haspel is creating a character for us. We're going to visit Summit City, which is a fictional city that Watchguard resides in. And this new character that Dean created and wrote and drew is going to show up for the first time ever in this annual. So that'll be his first appearance. We're going to deal with some weird, like what Dean wrote. We're going to deal with some mystical kind of Cthulhu stuff with a story that we've got happening up in Canada. Because where else would you do that? It's really fun. So we're going to have a blast. We're actually going to go back in time a little bit and deal with, I have a Canadian super team called Les Supérieurs, and those guys are Canadians. They're my Alpha Flight for lack of a better reference. And some of those characters are actually from World War II, and because of the metahuman gene in them, they prolong their lifespan. And so they're having a little bit of a flashback storytelling moment, a little campfire moment. It's great. And Dale Yatto is doing the art. Tom did the that was good grief. Wow, I should actually keep my spreadsheets open of all my creative teams. But anyway, I know Dale did the art. Kick me later, dude. But actually, let me swing over and I will tell you exactly.
No, you're fine. You're fine, dude. You have such a massive team underneath you. It's impressive that you remembered so much so far.
Yeah, we'll see how much more of my brain will hold out. I also need caffeine because it is still early yet.
I've already gone through 2 monsters myself,
So here's some of the creatives that have already contributed to the annual. So Morgan Quaid is one of the writers. Dean, I mentioned. Kat Calamia, I mentioned earlier. Joachim Vandersteen is doing a story as well. Sebastian Piccone. Tom Stillwell. Tom is the one who I was forgetting. Tom, you are welcome to charge me extra for that. But Tom and Dale did a phenomenal story. I love what Tom did. I love Dale's art. And Dale's actually showing up in another book written by Vito Del Sante that wasn't originally planned on my publishing schedule till next year that may actually make it into 2022. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, you are a busy individual. Holy crap, Charlie. Thank you so much for coming on and breaking everything down. This has been such I love interviews like this. Like this has been really good. Before we end things completely though, as much as this is an interview to kind of really showcase who you are and your books, you know, Spider-Squirrel and Milestone, it is a nice little learning tool for anyone that's new, that's watching. And I typically like to ask a question before we end things, but with you having run so many, like, you know, I guess, helmed so many creative teams in this project, I really want to ask a question that's going to really, I guess, focus on that to help people. Because typically it's like, you know, what are you going to do to get through like a writing block? But I think it's better to really focus on your strength as well. So for anyone that's watching and they're having trouble, like, I guess, running a creative team or giving directions to a creative team to get their project completed, what type of advice would you offer as someone who's like done that a couple times to kind of really help them get their project completed?
Well, I think it takes two things. One, I think first and foremost, you need to have a plan. And so that plan can take a number of formats. When you have other people writing your characters or working in your universe, it's best before you even start that process to have what some call a Bible. They do this for TV shows. They do it for all kinds of universes. I think every indie comic should have their own Bible. That doesn't have to be super definitive. It can be flexible and adaptable, and it should be, because as the characters grow, so should your Bible. But you know, I think it's really important because that keeps things. I like to use this frame of boundarying. So you think about having a pet or a kid, pick, you know, whatever your flavor is, and you have a yard, right? They can run all throughout your yard as much as you want to, but because you have a fence, they're limited, right? They're boundaried. And they can't really go over that fence without either breaking the boundary or going through a gate that you open. And so you have to decide when you're going to open gates, but otherwise give them the boundaries and then give them the freedom. In that, I say the second thing is you got to drop the ego. You can't love your own thoughts so much that you're not flexible enough to what others bring to you. And then they're not collaborators or co-creators. They're just flunkies. And if you treat your collaborative team like flunkies, you're going to get flunky effort because they're just hired hands or hired guns or whatever you call them. And I think that's my opinion, but I think that's absolutely the wrong approach. I think you need to work together, you know, collaborate, which means to anything means to work in conjunction or to partner. And I think that's what collaborators should mean. And co-creative, if you use that terminology, is the same thing. Give them the flexibility to create. And I think you'll be blown away with what you get. Milestone is going to be a really, really effing good book, not because of me, but because we work together, because Vito is writing a great story, because I worked with Drew Moss and a couple other people to create a good, cool character. I've got a fun universe to play in, but Vito's doing the work. He's creating this universe, and then Ariel is putting the visuals on it. And there's almost, I mean, like, you should see the dialogue we have amongst the three of us about the stuff we're doing.
Yeah,
it's very collaborative. You got to set aside the ego. You got to work together. If you want to do it yourself, then freaking go do it yourself. You know, but don't treat others like they're just hired guns. That's my thought. That's my process.
No, I think that's good, man. Holy crap, that is awesome. I appreciate that. I always love whenever we can get a piece of advice that's a little bit different than what we're used to. You know, I think that's really where you start capitalizing on room to grow and room to learn. So thank you so much for that again, Charlie. For everyone that's watching, be sure to go check out spidersquirrel.com. Pick up your issues today. Before we end completely, Charlie, are there any social media platforms that you'd like to shout out real quick?
Yeah, so like right here, I tend to do this when I'm on StreamYard or any kind of streaming thing. Hopefully you see this. I've got the @Charlie McElvy. That's pretty much my handle for anything. Alternately, you can look for my Spider-Squirrel one, which is similar, repeat. You can go to, let me change this real quick and I'll show you, just make life easier. So you can also find that handle on Insta, Twitter. You can find Spider-Squirrel has his own Facebook page. If you hit me up on Insta or you comment on Insta or Twitter, I will probably reply in character. So beware of that. Otherwise, you can go to my normal one, the Charlie McElvy one. It's me, and it's always me, and I will happily promote everything that I'm doing from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. So follow me.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm also on Substack, so I do have a. You can follow me on Kickstarter too if you want. Zoop right now, I've got my Milestone book on pre-launch for Zoop, so you can follow that. But yeah, and you can follow my Substack. I don't write too frequently, and it's usually some random shit coming out of my head. So, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. No worries. No worries. We're right at the tail end anyway. So, God, he's like, all right, I could finally be myself. Let me unzip. Yeah. So for me, guys, if you're still at this point,
no, I'm just kidding.
For me, if you're still at this point, you can like and subscribe to this video. Any likes, subscribes, and comments do help the channel grow. You can find me on Twitter at Keeping It Geekly. This has been such an awesome chat. I really appreciate it, guys. This has been it's Friday, TGIF. Let's go. The weekend's just starting. So start it off right with a brand new book and make sure it's Spider-Squirrel today. That being said, it is time for us to wrap up. I hope you have an awesome day, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.